And we do have breaking developments as we're on the air here in the West. Just a short time ago, Hillary Clinton making her first public appearance since her concession. It had been planned before the election, and tonight she's keeping a commitment to speak at the Children's Defense Fund. And her first public moment comes just as her win over Mr. Trump in the popular vote has now surpassed the 1 million mark, fueling some of those protesters and questions about the Electoral College. Here's ABC's David Wright.
Tonight, as she appears in public for the first time since that crushing defeat, Hillary Clinton is vowing to fight on.
I urge you, please, don't lose heart. Don't give up on the values we share. Believe in our country, fight for our values, and never, ever give up.
She lost the election, but her lead in the popular vote is actually growing. Already more than 1 million votes ahead of Trump. By the time all the votes are counted, she may well end up with more raw votes than all but one of the men ever elected to the presidency. The lone exception, Barack Obama.
This is what democracy looks like.
The fact that she lost anyway is partly what's fueling outrage.
Remember, Hillary got more votes than Donald Trump. Do you understand what that means? More, yes.
Senator Barbara Boxer is now introducing legislation to get rid of the Electoral College, even though that won't change the results of this election. Trump himself once called the Electoral College a disaster for democracy. These days, he calls it genius, but also insists that if the election were based on the popular vote, he could have easily won, campaigning more in New York, Florida, and California.
And David Wright with us live tonight as well. And despite that popular vote tally, is she now done in politics?
People are listening to that speech very closely to find out what her plans may be. Her speech at the Children's Defense Fund, something she agreed to long before Election Day, probably hoping to give a different sort of speech. David?
David Wright with us as well. David, thank you.